Good morning. I'm sitting in my daughter's backyard in St. Augustine, Florida, or near there, and thought I'd take a moment. The sun's behind the clouds, and just sitting here um, thinking about how good God is. Um, my wife and I, have spent the week visiting our daughter and son-in-law and three grandkids out here, and got a chance to visit a good church that some former Faith Baptist people go to, that moved out here to Florida, and it's just good to be here. We obviously behind me, my kid's backyard. There's like a wilderness area. There's lakes, and so uh, some things that we don't have in California. It's green, number one. There's water moccasins. There's cottonmouths. There's alligators, and lots of bugs. We are here, um, uh, very thankful to be where we are right here, visiting family, and to have kids that love us and that we love them. But I'm thankful for the brown of California, the lack of mosquitoes, cottonmouths, water moccasins, and alligators. And we have a few things that'll stick you and poke you, but it seems a little more reasonable. And we have no hurricanes. What do we have? Once every decade, we've got a earthquake, and if a alligator comes into the backyard here, I will quickly stop the film. But I wanted to just take a moment. It's a week, almost a week, 6 days after the elections, and I just take a moment and say what I've sent to many people that sent me notes about the elections, and especially when the voting was being counted and going on. And I reminded them of Daniel chapter 4. It says, "The Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and he setteth over it whomsoever he will." And then another text in Daniel 4, he says, he sets over men, the kingdom of men, the basest of men, which we've seen that, obviously. And uh, we're not like the lost world that has no hope. My hope's not in Washington, D.C., and my hope is not in a political party or a political movement. I have, obviously, some pretty strong feelings about politics in my country. I've been here for 67 years, and I love this country. I hate what has been happening to it. I hate the ignoring of the Bible, because our founders did not ignore the Bible. I hate the ignoring that we've had in the last 20 years of the Constitution. Um, and we can go back to Republicans and Democrats who were globalists, or um, people who were, trilateral commission people, if you go back 50 years, and people who believed in a one world government, pushed for it, a universal banking system, a universal military, a UN, and all those things. Those things are all destined to happen, because the Revelation and Ezekiel tells us about things that are going to happen in the end, and there's going to be a one world government, and there'll be a global military, a global banking system, a global political ruling system, and probably a global religion. It'll happen. I don't know how it could possibly happen. I look around, I think, how could this happen? But how could you have, uh, you know, one medical issue shut down churches, businesses, and things globally? How could you possibly? Well, it happened. It did happen. And so we need to step back and understand that these things are going to happen. And I believe, as I preached 2 weeks ago or a week ago in church, that we can kick the can of God's judgment down the road. Josiah did that. And because of Josiah's humble heart and love for God, God said, well, I am going to destroy Israel, but since you have a broken heart, I won't do it in your lifetime. And I think we can keep kicking the can of destruction down the way. And my grandkids could grow up in a free country, and their kids could grow up in a free country, if there'd be some people who'd humble themselves and seek God's face, and be broken over the sins of our nation. I will say I am very thankful for political people who are pro-Israel, who are pro-life, who are pro-freedom, who are pro-Constitution. I mean, I believe the First and Second Amendment are the two. The whole Constitution, the Bill of Rights, is vital, but I think the First and Second Amendment, those are key to everything. And far too many Americans are putting immediate comfort as a preeminent thing over long-term freedoms. And I love that First Amendment, that you have a right to peacefully assemble. You have a right to freedom of speech, the freedom of the press. That means I can print lies. I can print things you don't agree with. I can print things that are misinformation. That is guaranteed by our First Amendment of the Constitution. You say, should somebody be able to print lies? Who's going to determine if it's a lie or not? Those are just freedom. Either you're going to have freedom or you'll have tyranny, because I don't trust the Republicans or the Democrats or anybody else to decide what should and should not be printed. That's what freedom is all about. And from Hitler to Stalin and Lenin and all the tyrants through the ages, they wanted to control what got to people. And if they could control the news, they could control information, they could control people's impressions. And freedom is a precious thing we ought to cherish. So I vote pro-life. There's some definitions I just want to throw out to you that have come up lately with the current situation politically. Definitions of words like let's just take the word male and female, or man and woman. It's like the emperor's new clothes. Everybody knows what a man is. Everybody knows what a woman is. Those are given. I had, if you can hear noise in the back, sorry, the air conditioner kicked on. It's the best place I could find to record with grandkids and everybody in the house. But the emperor, remember the emperor's new clothes? Everybody knew he didn't have any clothes on. Everybody knew it. It was embarrassing, it was ridiculous, it was stupid, but nobody's willing to say anything for fear of public opinion. And what a prophetic fairy tale to today, to an era when people are so foolish. I don't want to say how many genders there are. I don't want to say what a man is, what a woman is. For thousands of years, we've all known when a baby is born, we had a baby. First thing people say, is it a boy or is it a girl? They all know that. That's the most logical thing in all the world. It just happened, and I'm going to fix something here, and so be patient with me just for a moment. And is it a boy or is it a girl? And everybody knows it's a boy or it's a girl. You don't. It's not like the first round draft pick. To be determined. That's not it. And I had animals growing up. We had one sheep. We had a milk cow. We had some beef cows. We had a couple of horses. We had goats, ducks, chickens. We had all kinds of animals. And I never gathered eggs from roosters. I never milked a steer or a cow or a bull. Everybody knows those things. A peacock, it's a male. The peacock's a male, the one with the big pretty flag. A peahen is the one that it can hide easier. It's there for the defense of the female. The male is the one that's more obviously seen, and they got the big beautiful tail feathers, but that's for out in the wild and to protect it. You can't debate those things, and yet in our society we got to debate. It's silly. It's redefining terms, and it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. I probably won't post this on. If you're watching this on YouTube, I was feeling risky, but defining words, and I want to. How about the word choice? People said you're taking away women's choice. No, women have a choice. You just don't have a choice to murder people. You got a choice to marry who you want, live unmarried with who you want. That's your choice. Now God says in Hebrews 13, marriage is honorable and the bed undefiled. Number one, marriage is honorable, and your personal relationship is undefiled. Whoremongers and adulterers, he goes on, says God will judge those. But it's still up to you. You have choice. You have all kinds of choices. What you don't have is a choice to murder a child. And but we've gotten crazy on that. And the one that came up after the election, women's reproductive rights have been taken away. Now, just use dictionary definitions. Women, we know what women are. Reproduction, we know what that is. Rights, we know what that is. So the right to reproduce has been taken away. No, it's not. You can have all the babies you want. Now, China has taken away women's reproductive rights. One child. I think they've changed that too in the last years. But for a long time in China, one child, that's all. And then they found out they didn't have enough people to work, and so they're saying have more babies. Well, the culture's all messed up, and nobody knows what to do with 3 or 4 or 5 kids. We have nobody wanting to take away women's rights for reproduction. We want to take away women's rights to murder those they did reproduce. But see, it's definitions, dictionary definitions. In Romans chapter 1, the Bible talks about, well, let me just read a verse for you there in Romans 1. Because, again, with this matter of defining terms, and in Romans 1, 24, God gave them up to uncleanness through the lusts of their own heart, to dishonor their bodies between themselves. Verse 26, for this cause God gave them up to vile affections. Even their women did change the natural use to that which is against nature. Likewise the men, leaving the natural use of the women, burned in their lust one toward another, working that which is unseemly. And so he says the natural thing is a male and female relationship, the most natural thing in the world. But he said it's vile affections. Anything else is a vile affection, and it is against nature. And the problem isn't society. The problem is the devil hates this book. The devil hates a Bible, and society hates a book telling them what to do. Society hates a book telling them how to live. There's so many definitions that our Bible gives very simple. Life's not hard to figure out. Now, it is hard to do sometimes. Two people get married, live together. That's not easy. But to understand my wife's a woman and I'm a male, a man, that's not hard to figure out at all. But one of the things that we need to be conscious of in Christianity is don't let people redefine your faith. I did a lesson not long ago on worship, and you can probably find it on one of our YouTube sites. But I think it's a booklet, or it's going to be a booklet. The word worship. Nowhere in the Bible is there, especially in the New Testament, is there a worship service. Nowhere is there a group of people who gather together in worship. One person worshiped, two people worshiped, maybe three people fell before Jesus in worship. But see, we've redefined worship. And don't let people redefine worship. God, in His Word, defines worship. Worship is when Jesus did a miracle and Peter fell down and worshiped Him. That's biblical worship. But you don't find a big crowd of people worshiping. Not like we talk about a band and lights and people swaying together and singing and calling it worship. That's not biblical worship. That's a redefinition. If we do not protect our vocabulary, we will lose our faith. And justification, redemption, reconciliation, salvation, these are words that need to be defined biblically and protected, and the same patriotically. Defend your country, defend the words of our country, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, defend states' rights. We've got a bunch of schools who failed to teach history, failed to teach the Constitution, failed to teach dictionary definition. Vocabulary used to be a big thing in school, and every week you had so many new vocabulary words. And they were dictionary definitions. You had to be able to define those words and spell those words. Why? Because our words tie us to reality. Our vocabulary ties us to our history. Knowing what the Bill of Rights is, knowing what the Constitution is, knowing the founders, those people who came to America and got this thing started, and the framers. The framers are the people who put these documents together and put how is the country going to run? The three, the balance of powers, the judicial, legislative, and executive, and that the judicial cannot rule over the executive, nor can the executive rule over the judicial or the legislative. And that balance, it's supposed to be a balance, not anybody in charge of the other. And see, but because we've lost definitions, we've lost our history, we've lost our belief system. And Christians today, I meet them all the time, and they don't understand, are you saved? Have you been saved? Well, I was baptized. No, I didn't ask you got baptized. Did you get saved? Well, I came to Christ. What does come to Christ mean? That's not even a biblical phrase. Where'd you get that? And the devil is always trying to redefine terms or invent new phrases, like women's reproductive rights. And folks, we have got to get our kids out of the public school system, out of the university system, and we've got to get our kids under the influence of godly, biblical Christian leaders. And a lot of our Christian schools are nothing more but a public school with a religion class. But We have people in our church who have taught or do teach in other Christian schools in the community, and it's tragic how little Bible they have. So we've got to get our families, especially our children, back to defining words and knowing what words mean and knowing what historical things mean. Why do we have laws, and what's the basis of laws? Well, all of our laws should go back to the lawgiver, Moses, and not the first table of the law, to have one God and don't have any idols and to not bow down to him. That's the vertical law. But the horizontal law, the love your neighbor as yourself, all those commandments mushroom out to all the laws, speed limit laws, the laws we have. And see, if we can teach our kids and society to define terms historically and biblically, we're not going to elect people who try to tell you how to live. Whether it be to put a cloth over your mug, and I'm trying to use words that won't get me booted off social media. The idea that the government can tell me to do this, no, the government can't tell me to do that. That's not historical rights of government. And all this to say, let's get back to defining words and defining biblical terms. Letting our church. How about church? What is church? What is a church? Church isn't me and my wife, children and grandchildren sitting around the house. The New Testament church, there's a pastor, there's deacons, there's money being gathered together, there's collections for the saints, there's missionaries being sent, there are other churches being started. It's not me ignoring the gathering of God's people and ignoring the ministry and ignoring soul winning and all that. A church is a place where converts are baptized, and the teaching and preaching of the Word of God. Family devotions is me and my family and my children and having daily time with God. That's not church. That's family. That's family time. That's me fulfilling my biblical mandate as a father. I'm every dad who wants to have his own little group at home. A pastor is ordained of God. A pastor is chosen by God. And so all these terms and these definitions, what is a deacon? It's a biblical person. There's biblical requirements for a deacon. Read Timothy and it's very clear in there who can be a pastor. There's biblical requirements. He needs to be the husband of one wife. I don't care what society says. Let's define our terms biblically. So definitions matter, and it's not people being narrow-minded and stickler. No. What is water? Water is H2O. Water, you can't make up. You can't make up things. Nobody can just say, my Volkswagen's really a Ferrari. No, it's not. And my Chevy Silverado is not an Escalade. It's not. You can even change the names on the cars. It's still what it was made to be. Definitions matter, and understanding history matters, and also understand the Bible to realize there are things going on around us culturally and in society and politically that went on before. If we knew our history and we knew our Bible, we would identify what tyranny is. Oh, let's be educated Christians. Let's be educated Americans. And again, parents, grandparents, get your kids out of the public schools. Get them in good, godly private schools. Get them out of the public university systems. And get our kids educated so they know how to work and they know how to think and they know how to be rational. If your kids are going to a school where they're debating how many genders they are, pull them out and put them in a real school that teaches truth. I'll be in church Wednesday, and we'll be home sometime today. But I just wanted to say hi from Florida, and you from our church. I love you. Thank God for my family, my church. I love that I get to be a pastor. 42 years now. What a privilege to do the work of God and to be able to work with the best people anywhere, anybody can work with. I love what I get to do and who I get to do it with. Have a great day.